Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with my buddy Clayton Smith. I met him in Vancouver along with several other like-minded people, and he has started a YouTube channel. It's right there at Clayton Smith. What is your YouTube channel? Is just Clayton Smith, and that must be your Twitter handle.
No, that's it there. Clayton-Smith.
At Clayton Smith. That's the YouTube channel.
That's my YouTube channel.
Okay, perfect. So it turns out we get more oil from Canada than just about anywhere here in the U.S. As far as I know, we're fixing to get into that in just a second. But on top of, I guess the reason we're talking about this, we're even bringing it up, is because the things that happen in Canada very well and will affect us here in the United States. And for all the Canadians on here, put hashtag Canada in the comments, and even in the U.S., because I met some really cool people there, and we were equally yoked. Everybody I just about ran into. So, Clayton, how are you doing first?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show here. How are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Just another day in paradise. It's beautiful weather here, getting the garden going, unlike where you're at.
Yeah, the ground's still a little white where I'm at here.
So why don't you throw that first article up? That was really interesting.
Sure. Let me just see. I'll just cue that up here. I think I got it up there. There we go. Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. And maybe, the article, if folks want to go to this article, they can read everything that they want for themselves there. But I think the chart pretty well explains everything they needed to know there. And that's where U.S. oil imports come from. And you look at that big chart there, that I think that's about 2/3 of the pie. That's Canada.
Now this is in millions, and 1,400 times a million, I believe to be 14 billion.
It could be about one. Yeah, I'm not good at math in public, but that's maybe
that's 1. Okay. Y'all beat me up if I'm wrong.
It's a big number. It's a huge number, and
Unreal.
I think you look at the numbers there, and you look at the comparison to Mexico or Saudi Arabia or any of the other countries. I think most of your viewers would probably be blown away by how much oil actually comes from Canada.
Yeah, I really was. So scroll down a little bit because there's some other. Yeah, 72 million barrels of oil sent to the United States last year. Russia was the fourth biggest exporter, following Canada. Canada's 1.4 billion barrels. My bad, not 14 billion. So I stand corrected. That's nothing new with math on the fly.
Well, the thing in that paragraph there, if you look at it, I think what would surprise most people think that they get a lot of their oil from Saudi Arabia, but Saudi Arabia is a little ways down the list there. So 130 million barrels versus 1.4 billion from Canada. So that's a pretty big difference. That's a 10-time difference there.
Yes, that's unbelievable. There's something on heating oil down in the article as well.
Yeah, I didn't quite get to that part there. There we go. Gasoline there.
Yeah, that's Canada's still number one. The Netherlands, I had no idea they made so much. They do a lot of refining over there. I don't think they do a lot of producing. So that's
I didn't know that either. That was new to me.
Yeah, and the heating oil is right up under this chart. So it's just really interesting how dependent we are on our neighbors. Yeah, 46. Yeah, they got half the pie there.
Pretty much, yeah.
So how's Canada being green when they're pumping all this oil out of the ground?
Hey, well, you know what? I'm from Alberta, so this is where most of the oil that we send you folks come from, and so we're happy to send it to you. Folks here are not as much, on the the green bandwagon as our prime minister might be. So my opinion on the whole thing is probably a little more biased than a lot of other Canadians you might run into.
I didn't see that when I was in Canada. I was because I guess I was just around people that kind of thought like I did. the ESG movement is just complete nonsense. Just a way to
Well, we met
control.
at the mining conference, so yeah, it's going to be a different
Yeah,
crowd there than probably the rest of Vancouver.
right. Well, I would love for you to roll that video of Trudeau. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Roll that
Oh, okay. Well,
video.
I'm sure folks. You know what? Yeah, I'll cue it up here while you're talking, and I think it'll kind of explain where we might be going next here. So let me just get that up here, and
Oh, this is
can
good.
you see that?
Oh yeah, this is good.
All right. Let me know if the sound plays. I hope the sound plays here.
All right.
Watching for any slip, he was asked which country he most admired and referred to China.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fastest. We need to start, investing in solar. I mean, there is a flexibility that I know Stephen Harper must dream about, of having a dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted.
Yeah. Anyway, I think you kind of get the idea there.
Yeah. China's going greenest fastest.
Apparently, you know what? I haven't looked at the numbers on it, but as far as I know, they got quite a few coal plants. So.
Oh man, it's so this guy is a real piece of work. I'm just telling you.
Should we move to another screen just so we can get that off of the?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. That kind of brings us to this next thing that we were talking about here. So I wanted to lead into this story with that last with that soundbite there from him, because it kind of illustrates a little bit of the hot water that he's into right now. So this article will tell some of the story, but kind of what's been going on here. And I'm kind of a recovering political junkie, so I've been trying to avoid news as much as I can for the last few years, but you just can't avoid it, right? And then when you've got the prime minister of the country that gets kind of caught up in some hot water like this, like stuff that I've been telling people about for years, but I don't want to let my opinion out there. Just let the news that's out there speak for itself. So what's come out is that our intelligence agency has basically, it was leaked out somehow that the prime minister has known and has been briefed for years on efforts by China to interfere in our elections. And the interference is basically, it's alleged, of course, that the elections were tipped in favor of Justin Trudeau. So the last couple of times the last couple of elections that were called, Trudeau basically got to remain in the prime minister's chair, allegedly because of Chinese interference.
Okay, and it's not just one or two. This is 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 Canadians believe this happened.
What it was is that it's the way that the story has come out. It's in some ways it shocked a lot of people. Unfortunately, I don't think it shocked a lot of other people. It hasn't shocked enough people, and there's probably too many people that probably don't care. They'll still vote for him anyway, for whatever reason.
I just can't imagine somebody voting for that guy. I just don't understand it.
There's a lot of interesting dynamics in Canada. East and West has their differences, and there's different pockets all throughout the country that have their differences too. And there's a history.
What's
with
the difference?
Western Canada.
Like some people want freedom and some people don't. Is that
they're more comfortable with the Liberal Party. The tendency has been that Eastern Canada has been a lot more comfortable with the Liberal Party in power than the Conservative Party, for example. And that's something that goes back for years and years. Now, in particular, Western Canada has and Alberta, Saskatchewan, Alberta in particular has a particular history with the Trudeau family, going back to Trudeau's father, who was also prime minister back in the 1970s, and brought in what was known back then as a national energy program, which basically decapped our oil and gas industry here. And it resulted in some pretty hard economic times here for a number of years. So there's people that still remember that. And now they see that the apple certainly hasn't fallen far from the tree. So I don't think anybody around here is too surprised.
Yeah. So his dad and Castro were good buddies, huh?
Apparently they were. Yeah, apparently very good buddies.
I heard him and his mom, and Castro were pretty close,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that story's been floating around for a while, and of course, I haven't seen any DNA tests, so I don't know one way or the other. But yeah, it's a fun story to have and to talk about. And I know when you see I don't have it up here, but I know when you go to look at the picture, they do the cutaway picture of the young Castro on one side and the other
Looks
side
just
is
like him.
Trudeau, and it's like, oh, that's the same person, you know.
And the way he jumps on communism, the way he jumps on that authoritarianism bandwagon, just hook, line, and sinker. Oh, you see how good that works. Let's do that because we want all the power. It's like, whoa, dude, chill.
Yeah. There's definitely a pattern there, and I think that it's something that I think it's very telling, and it gives an idea on his kind of on the lens that he looks through when he's making decisions on behalf of the rest of the country here. And being that Canada is a partner with in terms of energy for the U.S. and we're also a NORAD partner, so in terms of our militaries, there's a very close working relationship there going back to World War II and before. So it's it should concern Americans, I think, to see what's going on north of your northern border.
Yeah, well, what he did during the woohoo bat flu was unbelievable to me. For a freedom-loving person, it was just about as authoritative as you can get to mandate medicine, and he had no qualms about it. It was his way or the highway. And
very much so.
And the amount of people that showed up to protest was just, man, I thought it was awesome. And I know it probably got annoying, all the horns going on, and I can imagine being around that. They drive me out of my head too. I live out in the country where it's quiet, but they're doing it for a really good reason. I followed that pretty close, and I thought it was a really good, way to step up and say, hey, we want to be free. We don't care what you want. He was groomed by Klaus Schwab. He's been, they've been after him for a long time. He's part of the WEF, a big part of it. They're really proud of him. You get on the WEF, go to the website, and they're just, Trudeau is just, he worships the ESG God the best. They really, really like him a lot. So
there's a lot of opinions, on either side, very strong opinions on both sides of the whole thing. So I don't even get into it with people when it comes to the whole, World Economic Forum connection or anything like that. I just kind of focus in on, okay, well, what do we already know about him that's already out there? It's on mainstream media, so it's not like you can really say, oh, these are conspiracy theories and this and that. I mean, look at this guy's track record. And the thing that came out today, it was just this afternoon, so just before we got on the call here, he's calling for a committee or something like that. I didn't really have a chance to look at the article that closely, but he's calling for a committee, or so there's going to be some kind of an investigation done here. But my big concern on that is that, okay, well, so maybe he's doing this to buy some time, and in that time, could he call an election? Because this kind of thing has happened before. There were some investigations that happened. I think it was 2 elections ago now, and I've got to read back into some of the history there again. But there were some investigations that were going on in terms of it was either some abuse of funds or some abuse of power, and there was a committee that was looking into it, and then there was an election called. So the election basically, for all intents and purposes, dissolved the committee and conveniently ended the investigations. So that's kind of my concern that might happen here, is that he might somehow trigger an election. Now, what probably most of your viewers in the States don't know is that in Canada here, whoever's in power basically can call an election at any time. That's our parliamentary system. So when after an election, a prime minister, for example, what well, the party that gets elected basically has up to 5 years for their mandate under our Constitution. And then, but an election can be called basically any time within that 5 years. Now, we have some laws in place that specify 4-year fixed election dates and things like that. But there's been some ways around it. Now, ideally, there's supposed to be some consequences paid for triggering elections early, but we've already had that. We've got the same prime minister that's been elected or reelected a couple of times now with early elections. So, and it seems like no consequences. But, maybe if he had help from somebody special, well, allegedly, maybe that's what made the difference. Allegedly.
Sure. Well, anybody that's against freedom is against me. I hate that, and I don't like people telling me what to do. Even if it's a motorcycle helmet, even if it's a seatbelt. I mean, really, who are you hurting by not wearing your seatbelt? Who are you hurting by not wearing your helmet? I'm not saying it's a good idea and you should do all those things, but it's nobody's business. It's your business, and that's because they take these little steps and take freedoms and take freedoms and take freedoms. And then at the end, you've essentially traded your freedoms for safety in the name of safety. And it's really working in Canada. And it's
that tends to be how things go here. And it's, we have rules, a lot of rules in place, and it seems like they're making more rules all the time for people. It's one thing that we tend to do well here, apparently. It's the seatbelt arguments and the helmet arguments. We've had those, in years past. There's people that feel strongly one way or the other about it. Different places in the States also have some of those same arguments as well.
Yeah, Louisiana has a helmet law and a seatbelt law.
Yep.
Arkansas doesn't.
Yeah. So lots of different places, lots of different rules. But the thing that it comes back to is, you have a leader like what we have here, and does not seem to be, much of a friend to the ideas of freedom and liberty. And I think that there's a pattern there in all of this. And we talked a little bit about the Castro thing, did we? We kind of mentioned a little bit there.
No, go ahead and put that up.
There was that one article, or it was a statement that came up here. Let me see if I can pull that up. Let's see. Can you see that there?
Oh yeah.
This made the rounds a few years ago after Fidel Castro passed away, but this got pretty severely roasted on Twitter years ago about under the Trudeau eulogies hashtag.
It is with deep sorrow that I learned today of the death of Cuba's longest serving president, my father. Fidel Castro was a larger than life leader who served his people for almost half a century, a legendary revolutionary and orator. Mr. Castro made significant improvements to the education and healthcare of his island nation. I'll keep on going. This is rich. You could fertilize your garden with it. While a controversial figure, both Mr. Castro supporters and dictators recognized his tremendous dictation of love for the Cuban people who had a deep, lasting affection for El Comandante. I'm going to stop right there because I should have just stopped at love. It very well might be his dad. I'm convinced that's his dad.
Well, this is what fueled the whole theory, is that there was just this very flowery, very sentimental statement about a dictator that killed a lot of his fellow countrymen, and warm-hearted, loving, all that sort of stuff. El Comandante, it was very very nice.
I wonder how he feels about Mao and Stalin and Hitler. I wonder if he really gets into them and think they did a good job. You know what I mean?
I can't speak for him, But
No,
I can only theorize that, you know, he might think that, oh, well, those guys were probably misunderstood on some level. I'm theorizing, you know, I'm throwing my own editorial in there. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, we're just calling it like it is usually. But yeah, so is there anything else you want to share from Canada?
Well, I think another thing that folks might not realize is just how vast the country is and how many of our resources that we share to the world. And you know, you look at any kind of resource, and being with the U.S. and Canada and how our economies are so closely integrated through NAFTA. You look at any of our commodities, so lumber. Name them. We've got just about every important commodity that you need. It really pays attention on what's going on here. Uranium's a big one. We're a major source of uranium supply to the world. We're finding lithium here all the time.
Gold, silver,
copper, gold, silver. Oh yeah,
it's
it's huge, and which kind of brings us back to how we met, which was at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference there, and talking about just you know, all the investment opportunities that are going on in Canada here right now, and the whole commodity cycle that we could potentially be looking at entering here. So I don't know, we could probably go on for a long time about all that, but it's quite amazing to think about how vast the country is and the amount of resources that we have in this country. And for a population, like the entire population of Canada is roughly the size of California, but spread out over a huge landmass that's only second to Russia in the world. So it's a pretty big country. There's a lot here. You all come up and visit sometime too, by the way.
I love it.
Happy to have you.
I want to come back with my bow and really spend some time. I want a bow and a fishing pole. I want to go through Canada. That's what I'd really like to do. I'd like to get away from these mosquitoes tearing me up. Well, Clayton, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything from Canada. If there's any breaking news coming out of Canada, we'll jump on and you can talk about it.
Sure.
Because, you know, I really enjoyed being around you Canadians. And I had way more in common than I thought with every one of them. But like you said, we were at a mining conference. You know, we were, you know, if you're wise enough to see what's coming, you know, those people kind of collide and resonate. And, you know, that's kind of part of it. But I'm absolutely coming back to Canada pretty quick, probably.
All right. Well, come to Alberta. You can see some of the oil and gas industry up here too.
Yeah, I've seen enough of that. That's all I've done for the last 20 years is weld pipe in the natural gas field. I'm happy to be away from it. But yeah, I would like to see it in the summertime for sure.
That's right. Yeah, the summer, we got some pretty beautiful summers here, and you know what? The sun goes down. This is what I love about it up here, being at this latitude. We're at about 53.5 degrees latitude, and we've got beautiful summers here. It's you know, it doesn't get too hot up here compared to what it gets down in the southern U.S. And mosquitoes, we got mosquitoes here. They're not too bad depending on where you go, but we still get them. And we've got daylight here until about, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. So we've got some long days here, beautiful summers, not too much rain here. Actually, we got a lot of daylight here, a lot of beautiful weather here. If you get a thunderstorm, it lasts for about 5 or 10 minutes. We get the odd tornado, but not too many. We're not really in tornado alley. So it's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on. And guys, go check out Clayton Smith. That's his YouTube channel, Clayton Smith. And he's doing a video a day, and he's already got 30 up. And if you're interested in what's going on in Canada, he's going to be covering that and a myriad of other things. So thanks for coming on, brother.
All right. Thank you for having me, Chris. You take care.
Yes, sir. And guys, you have an awesome, awesome day. We'll see you in the next one. Later.